Sure. But anyway, hey guys, we are live. Happy Fertility Friday. Is that like an event now or like a thing that we should be saying happy for? But guys, welcome back to Fertility Fridays. Today's topic is on how to get pregnant naturally or how to get pregnant. Like, what are things that are actually going to work for you? And I think the first email is going to be super telling. If you don't know, I'm doing this every Friday now. I go live on TikTok here and as well on YouTube. And so if you're not subscribed to my TikTok channel, it's at Yankoko as well as here on YouTube. Please, if you're watching from TikTok, make sure that you're subscribed to the Prolific Collective. You can go ahead and link in my bio. But let's get into today's topic. We are talking all things how to get pregnant. What are some things that you can do now, today, within your realm that can help you get pregnant? All right, let's start with the first email that I think is super telling. Hi, Dr. Yeni. I hope this doesn't sound silly, but I'm reaching out because I've been quietly carrying this question for a while. I'm 34, recently married, and for the first time in my life, I'm actually allowing myself to think about motherhood. Oh, not just in theory, but as a real possibility. All right. But here's the thing, we're not trying yet. All right. But I also know that my age isn't nothing. I've had regular periods, no known reproductive issues. Okay. But I've always been relatively healthy. But suddenly I find myself Googling things like how to improve my egg quality, what supplements to be taking before pregnancy, and how long does it take to conceive at 34. I didn't expect to feel this much pressure this soon. I thought once I was married, the peace would come, but it hasn't. Instead, I feel like I'm running out of time and options without even having tried. I'm not ready to go to the fertility clinic route just yet. I want to do everything I can do right now to give my body the best shot when we are ready. What are the actual steps that I can take to increase my chances of conceiving naturally when the time comes? And how do I stop spiraling every time I read something online about a geriatric pregnancy or fertility declines at 35? Thank you for creating a space where I don't feel judged for being scared and not fully decided at the same time. Gratefully, a woman in the wait but watch phase. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, guys. Wow. This is such a realistic, just thoughtfully written email here. So thank you for whoever wrote that in. But being 34, already I'm sure you're thinking about the fact that you have this biological clock, and it's not a biological clock that we heard from old wives' tale. It is real. Research does tell us that your fertility chances do take a steep decline after the age of 35. All right. So if you are already pushing 35 or in your more mid 30s, you definitely do want to be thinking about ways to conceive and do that in a way that really takes into account the time, right? I don't think that life is over if you're 34, 35, 36, just starting your pregnancy journey, but there are some things that you definitely want to start doing right away to give yourself the best chance. The first thing I want to always start with is knowing your cycle, knowing when you're ovulating and if you're ovulating, right? Unfortunately, not a lot of us are getting a lot of information using ovulation packs. So there are devices like the Mirror app and the Initio device that will actually give you a specific number to tell you when you're ovulating. And I highly recommend that you get those devices to give you that information. But it's important to know your fertility window and to know when you should be having intercourse to give yourself the best chances. And if you even have a fertility window, sometimes some red flags would be if you notice that your period is like if you know that your cycle is like 38 days one time and then it swings to 22 and there's a lot of irregularity, you could actually be having cycles that are anovulatory cycles or cycles where you don't ovulate. So make sure to be aware. The second thing that you want to be doing right away is learning how to track your cervical mucus. So the cervical mucus, which is often the discharge that sometimes you see, especially around the time of ovulation, should be really thick and viscous. And some people call it like egg white, sticky. That's going to be the type of cervical mucus that you're going to need to allow the sperm to get up into your vaginal canal and through into the uterus to give you a chance. So sperm need help from cervical mucus to get to viable eggs. And I think a lot of people don't know that. So if you notice that you don't have a lot of vaginal discharge and you're getting older and it's becoming less and less, it could also be indicative that you might not be creating a lot of opportunities for conception to happen and may have a lack of ovulation. So a lot of people do not know this. I will say that there are some great fertility tracking apps. There's Clue, there's all kinds of things that you could be tracking your app, but sometimes the app isn't really going to be giving you the true data and the true reality of what's going on. So I do want you to go ahead and be proactive and make sure that you are doing these things or being aware of these things if to know whether or not you are ovulating. But I think a really key thing that a lot of us are not talking about, especially here in the West, in the US, and sometimes in parts of Canada, we don't talk a lot about what you need to be eating to give yourself the highest chance of getting pregnant. I'll tell you right now that fertility hormones absolutely love protein, healthy fats, fiber, and food that balances the blood sugar. All right. So I'm going to say that again. Fertility hormones absolutely love protein. So high protein diets, right? They love healthy fats. Healthy fats are your avocados, right? They're going to be your really healthy quality high fat oils. Avocado oils are really good. Some of my favorite oils, extra virgin of olive oil, those are good. You are not going to be using corn oil, all right? Corn oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, these are the oil that sometimes carry a lot of synthetic material that are actually creating more inflammation in your body and could be putting you at a disadvantage to be able to conceive naturally. All right. These are the things that are actually going to be making it harder for your fertility hormones to break through and regulate in the way that they need to naturally. All right. And by the way, if you have any questions about this for my folks that are on TikTok or here on YouTube, go ahead and throw in some questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer things in real time. All right. So right away, I want you to know that there's a lot of things that you can be doing to clean up your diet today. I always tell everyone that I see in my office or patients I work with, or even clinicians I've talked to, that one of the number one things the average American can do to help their fertility is to cut the sugar. We eat way too much processed sugar, and fertility hormones need a healthy sugar balance in order to regulate, right? Something happens whenever you eat a lot of sugar. Insulin can spike. And unfortunately, a lack of insulin regulation will make it difficult for estrogen and progesterone to do their job. All right. That's a simple way that I can explain that. And so if you know that you love soda or you put a lot of sugar or you eat a lot of sweets, this is a time to cut back on that and maybe switch to some healthier sugars too. Some, natural sugars like strawberries and berries in general are always going to be better forms of sugar, and lower glycemic fruits to help you regulate better. All right. Next key in nutrients that you want to consider are, I call these like my Fab Five. Fab Five supplements that every woman that needs to take if they're looking to conceive today, especially if you're in your mid-30s. Folate, not folic acid, guys, folate, iron, magnesium, especially magnesium citrate, zinc, and B6. All right, I'm going to say those again. Folate, iron, magnesium, zinc, all right, and B6. Those are your Fab Five nutrients that you can start taking today. The way that you know a supplement is really good if it's a single source supplement. So a lot of multivitamins are actually not good because they don't have enough quantity of each vitamin you need inside that one supplement, right? So I recommend either, getting supplements that only have 2 or 3 vitamins combined, or getting a single source vitamin supplement that will take you a long way, all right? Another thing that you want to consider doing is taking certain supplements during certain times of your cycle. One of the most interesting things is a lot of people don't know that sometimes if you've got thyroid issues, it can actually directly impact your chances of getting pregnant, because thyroid issues directly impact the way that your reproductive hormones are going to work. So one of my favorite vitamins to encourage you to take, especially when you are in your follicular phase, that's the day you start bleeding, all the way to the day of ovulation, is selenium. Selenium, great supplement for you to take right away. So those are some key things that you can be doing right away. For my person who wrote in your mid-30s, to give your body an opportunity to be well nourished for a fertility. And for folks that are joining on TikTok, thank you so much for joining me live. I'm so excited to see you here. Feel free to throw questions in the chat as they're coming along. Now, this is all in regards to female, but what can your partner be doing to also help hit your chances of getting pregnant naturally? All right. I'm going to tell you right now, that male infertility is on the rise, guys. The research is telling us now that 33%, so up to 40% of infertility issues in the US are completely male related. All right. Men are their sperm. And so the great thing is, unless they've got a genetic issue or disorder, or they've had a spinal cord injury, a lot of things that men can do right now, right, to change their fertility outcomes by changing their lifestyle. All right. So just like I have key nutrients for females, we've got 3 key nutrients for men to start taking. So if you have a partner that's trying to clean up their diet and, of course, help you get to conceive naturally, number one thing is they should be taking zinc. The second supplement is CoQ10. And the third supplement would be L-carnitine. All right, I'm going to say those 3 again: zinc, CoQ10, and L-carnitine. All right. And my biggest recommendation for men, and they don't always love this, is cut the alcohol and the smoking. Y'all, men are identical. Dark liquors, especially like guys that love the Hennessy, the cognacs, the whiskeys, those are trouble for a lot of male, especially as men age, right? Sometimes men don't even realize that like all those dark liquors are actually creating a lot of debris and creating a difficult time for their sperm to do its job, right? So if you know that you are trying to be proactive as a man, cut the alcohol, decrease the smoking, even hookah. I always say this, even hookah can actually make your sperm, much more dirty, or make it difficult for the sperm motility, or make sperm motility more of a challenge. Sperm motility is a term that refers to how quickly the sperm moves, right? So these are the things that can complicate, but things that you can do right away. All right. So already, I hope that you're seeing how quickly you can start to tackle your fertility naturally. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share another, I think, email that is right alongside our topic today. And if you're just joining me live, we are talking about how you can get pregnant naturally, right? How to increase your chances of getting pregnant naturally. All right, so I'm going to read this email. Dear Dr. Yeni, my husband and I have been casually trying to conceive for the past year, but it's starting to get frustrating. I track my cycle, kind of. I take my vitamins sometimes, and I pray about it a lot. All right. I love that you said that you pray about it, because you should be praying about your conception journey. I keep seeing these Instagram posts like, I did this one thing and got pregnant in 2 months, and I low-key spiral every time. We're not ready for fertility treatments yet. I just want to make sure we're doing everything we can naturally. What are the most important things I can do now to actually increase my chances of conceiving? And how do I stay hopeful when it's not happening on my timeline? I love that you asked that question. Thank you so much for this write-in here. Thank you so much. So absolutely, all the things that I already talked about, and knowing your cycle, knowing if you're ovulating, of course, nourishing your body with proteins, fats, fiber, those things help. But a lot of times too, stress and inflammation actually can complicate your opportunities to get pregnant naturally. So there is a hormone called cortisol. It is considered our stress hormone. And the good thing is now in a lot of media, we're hearing more of the word cortisol. So most people are getting more familiar. Cortisol can impact the way you sleep. Cortisol can impact the way you feel in your body. Cortisol is our stress hormone, right? A lot of people don't know that cortisol can disrupt ovulation if it's too high. So I always say that, sometimes whenever you're trying to conceive naturally, you have got to do a huge lifestyle haul and think about the things that you can control in your life that are impacting your stress, right? What is creating the most amount of tension and stress in your body, right? And doing physical check-ins. So maybe you can consider auditing your life and thinking about maybe if it's a workflow, it's your work schedule, maybe you're a shift worker, you're a nurse, and you work nights. That can directly impact your ability to even ovulate if you're under stress. Other things that research is telling us is gut health, right? If you have a lot of GI issues, IBS, difficulty with constipation, diarrhea, that can be very telling. So gut health issues can impact fertility. So cleaning that up. Also nervous system regulation. If you deal with chronic anxiety, if you deal with depression issues, if you deal with psychosis, mental health disorders can actually impact you on a cellular level and create a lot of inflammation in your body. So if you know that you have been clinically depressed in the past or have signs of clinical anxiety or clinical forms of anxiety or even underlying anxiety, or you're in an anxious period, I recommend make sure that you're doing your best to get help. Medically, you can see a provider, you can see a psychiatrist who can put you on a low dose depression medication to help your nervous system regulate better, or maybe even you need to get some support right now, talking things out with friends, making sure that you're in a community of people who understand what you're going through. So automatically, these are key things that you can definitely help to reduce the stress and give your body an opportunity to actually ovulate. Awesome. Thanks for everyone joining me, by the way, this morning. I'm having such a great time seeing everyone coming in and out of the chat. And if you have any questions about getting pregnant naturally, please throw in your questions right now. All right. And I know that the question here, she said, how can I stay hopeful when it's not happening on my timeline? Guys, I could do a whole different topic on that. And I probably will, is like, what do you do when, you're not getting pregnant within the timeline of your expectation? I always say that, the Bible tells us that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks, right? You have to speak life into your body. Thank you for those who are sharing me hearts. Thank you so much. You have to speak life into your body. You have to command your body to do what you're anticipating it to. And so sometimes if you think that your body is disappointing you and your body is not giving you the chances to conceive, you have to say, body, you are born to create. Body, I'm commanding you to conceive. I'm commanding you to be in alignment with the purposes of God to conceive. I believe that as women, especially women, the Lord has given us a mandate to do what? Be fruitful and multiply, right? And that is a mandate for man and woman. But especially as women who are being bearers of that conception journey, it's important that you are speaking life. So yes, there are scientific things that we should be doing, but even in the spirit, you have to speak life over your body. And you have to ask God for clarity and peace and dominion over the things that are creating so much anxiety, right? And so if we are trusting God for this natural process, or however your fertility journey goes, even if you need a little bit of science to get there, at the root, at the center of it all, you have to hold on to God, and you have to command your body to do what it is created to do. Align your prayers with the preparation of this journey. As you are putting things in your body, as you are eating better, as you're eating clean, I command my Lord, as I am eating fruitfulness, my body is receiving. As I am eating these anti-inflammatory foods, Lord, my body is coming into alignment. It is not inflamed in the name of Jesus. You have to speak life to it, guys. The Bible tells us that life and death are in the power of the tongue. And so you have got, if you want to create life, come on today. If you want to create life, there we go. You have to speak life, right? And since life and death are in the power of the tongue, let your tongue speak life to create life, right? So sometimes you have to speak that life into existence to see it come to pass. Come on. That was for somebody right there. I think that is literally what somebody needed to hear today, is that you need to start speaking life. God is not in the business of creating delay out of cruelty, right? He is not trying to be cruel to you. The Bible tells us that hope defers make the heart sick. When you are hoping for a child, when you are hoping to conceive, right? And that hope has taken so long, right? It does make your heart sick, right? But recognize that you can reconcile that by being in alignment to God. I always think about Elizabeth in the Bible, and I think that we're going in this direction for somebody today, right? And I think about Elizabeth in the Bible. Elizabeth was in the menopause ages when she was pregnant with John. But if you think about who John was in juxtaposition who Jesus was, John was a forerunner to Jesus's ministry right here on earth. So you have to understand that sometimes our delay is actually because we're interpreting it as delay, but rather it is actually us being in alignment with what God's purpose. John could have not come any earlier because he was needed in the same timeline of Jesus, right? And so, yes, God had to use this older woman and this younger woman in Mary, older woman in Elizabeth and younger woman in Mary, and juxtapose them so that they could be related because they're cousins and have these children, right, who are born around the same time. One born in her menopause age, one born as she was just literally coming out of adolescence, so that they can be in sync in the right time. And so know that even as you are waiting on God, as you are taking the CoQ10 as a man, even as you are cleaning up your diet and doing all these things, right? Recognize all this is in alignment to God's timing, right? And speak life. I'll share a scripture here that might help you as you are thinking through this. And if you're joining me live right now, and if you do have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'd love to answer it live. But I love this scripture. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 3, 5, verses 5-6, it says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not onto your own understanding, right? But in all your ways, he will make your path straight, right? So recognize that a lot of this requires a lot of trust, trusting in God's best for you, and also praying and speaking life into your body as you are making all these proactive steps. And I'm going to also share Psalms chapter 128, verse 3. Psalm 128, 3 says, your wife will be a fruitful vine. Recognize that you are a fruitful vine. And so speak fruitfulness. Do the things that are going to help you be fruitful, guys, right? Do the diet overhaul, audit your stressors in your life. So, the Bible tells us that faith without works is dead. So it has to be two different things happening at the same time. You got to fight the fight in the physical and you got to fight the fight in the spiritual, right? In order to naturally conceive, right? So know that one cannot work well without the other, and one is really in alignment with the other two as well. So I hope you guys are enjoying this conversation. And if you're just joining us, we are chatting all things naturally conceiving. And so I'm taking any live questions here. If you have a live question, please throw that in the chat. Go ahead and throw that in the chat. And thank you so much for those who are joining us. Yes, I am yapping all things fertility today. Got a couple more minutes, and I'd love to take any live questions as you are as you're joining in. All right, yeah. So I just got this question is I'm 32 and not trying yet, but I'm worried I waited too long. What can I do to get ahead now? Yeah, 32 is not old, guys. Thank God things have changed. 32 is not old, right? You did not wait too long. And so if you're 32, you still are probably in a good chance or a good window. But like I said, there are a lot of things that I shared earlier in the live about, things that you can be doing to clean up your diet, especially increasing protein. Y'all, the average American woman does not eat enough protein. Hello. We just don't. We don't eat enough protein, right? I think I saw a research study, or I came across some information that shared that, the average American woman of reproductive age needs anywhere between 80 to 100 grams of protein a day. And most of us, if we're lucky, get 20 grams of protein, right? So a lot of times, we're eating a lot of carbs, we're eating a lot of sugars, and we need to swap that out so that we can eat more protein. So please, that if you can do anything at 32 years old, make sure that you are eating more protein and you're cutting the sugars. And guys, I have another question that just came in here. It says, is it normal to feel low-key jealous or triggered by pregnancy announcements, even if I'm happy for them? Oh, that's a good question. Heck yeah. It's totally normal to feel triggered by people's pregnancy announcements, especially when you are hoping for it. I mentioned that scripture that says that hope defers make the heart sick. That's what you're experiencing, right? If you are hoping for something, it's definitely normal. But here's the thing is that, the Bible tells us that guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issue of life, right? We have to be very careful that even as we're waiting, that we are not projecting our jealousy or our desires on other relationships, right? And it can be so hard to see pregnancy announcement after pregnancy announcement when you're walking in a season where God has not answered you yet. And so I want to just encourage you that if you're experiencing jealousy, I want you to audit your heart, maybe take a break from social media, do what you can to guard your heart and guard your gates and guard the information that you're receiving, and make sure that you take that back to God in prayer. Take that back in position and really allow him to shape your heart so that you can wait well, right? Because half the battle that we're dealing with is being able to wait well, right? Thank you so much for the hearts and the comments here on TikTok. I really appreciate you guys. All right, I think I have time for one more question on this live here. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in. I'm going to go ahead and pick this question up here. How long should I try naturally before seeing a fertility specialist? Ooh, this is a great question. So I would say that if you are under the age of 35 I recommend that do not wait longer than a year of trying naturally before you see a fertility specialist. So that's honestly what the research backs up. But honestly, clinically speaking, if you've been trying on your own for a year and nothing has happened and you're having, pretty consistent intercourse with your partner and you're doing all these naturally things and you're not getting pregnant, you need to go see a specialist, right? But if you're definitely over the age of 35, if you're 36, do not wait longer than 6 months. All right. But if you have any known medical condition like PCOS, endometriosis, you have fibroids, right? Or you have any known genetic issues where you know that you're probably maybe in your family, the women go into menopause a lot sooner, don't even wait at all, right? I mean, give it maybe 2 or 3 periods, maybe 3 months of you trying naturally and go see a specialist immediately, y'all. Go see a specialist immediately. So if you have a known diagnosis, right, that potentially could be impacting your fertility chances. Again, the top ones are PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, or you have any genetic issues, maybe in your family, women go into menopause sooner. Make sure that you just go ahead and see a specialist as soon as possible. That'll definitely help to calm any like anxieties. Maybe you can try natural, like I said, just a couple months and then go and see a specialist, right? But all of this, goes to the wayside if you don't have any known diagnosis, or maybe you're just really wanting to try this journey out on your own. Definitely give all of these suggestions that I gave today a try. Yeah. So this was great. I hope that you enjoyed this live. Thank you so much on TikTok for folks who are just joining me and throwing in all the hearts and the love. If you're looking to replay this on TikTok, or you can definitely go and watch our YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, guys, this is always so fun. Hopefully you took away some practical steps this morning about how to get pregnant naturally. Share this with someone who is trying to conceive and who needs tips and things they can do right away to give them their body an opportunity to conceive naturally. Okay. I will see you guys on the next Fertility Fridays. And thank you guys so much for your time. Bye, guys. Take care. Thank you guys so much on TikTok.